Hey, sorry about that. Had a weird audio problem. Not sure what was going on there. Well, today wasn't really what I was planning to talk about. Actually, to a certain extent, I wasn't quite sure this morning when I woke up what I was going to talk about. But my sales guy had a question for me today that I thought was really interesting. He was like, "How do you do it? How do you manage to make all the calls? How do you have the energy to have all the conversation? How do you do it? How do you manage your work in a way you can actually meet your goals? And I've given him a not a terribly aggressive sales goal, like the number of calls he needs to make and the things he needs to do. They're not terribly aggressive. At least I don't think so. And I've kind of managed it out over the week and all that in a pretty reasonable way. But then I got to thinking about it, and it's like some of that is me coming from 30 plus years of experience doing what I do. um and it turned into kind of a fairly long conversation that went over our normal meeting time. We just kind of kept going because I was explaining to him how I get things done. And so early in my career, I was very much focused on time management. There was a time management book. I would read it. Back in the day, it was Stephen Covey's Habits of Successful People, and I had my Covey planner, and I did all this planning and planning and planning and planning. And it was one of those things that I think, when I worked the super stable 8 to 5 corporate job, that was kind of okay, I guess. I didn't necessarily have kids yet, or like the kids were little, and so most of my time, as far as managing time went, it was pretty static and consistent. And then I got this job where I was traveling for work all the time, and that time management thing just went out the window because, by the time Thursday afternoon rolled around and I was flying home from my client site, um, I was fried. Like the ability of me to fill up a day on Friday and actually do something useful was pretty low to begin with, and I was really trying to figure it out. And then there came along lots of other things, right? When my kids got older and we were homeschooling, I was running multiple organizations. I was doing my job. I was doing this. I was doing that. I had a lot going on. And essentially, the way I learned how to deal with this is I stopped looking at it as a management of time and started looking at it more about management of my energy level. That is to say, in any given day, I only have so many what I like to call executive function points. I wish I had a little meter in my eye, the HUD, like if you're playing a video game, you have your life meter. I really wish I had an executive function meter so I could do this even more effectively than I do. But what I had to do was just realize that, wait a second, if I actually journal day to day, like when did I wake up and what was my day like and what did I get done? I did that for about 2 months. It in the early part of my consulting career. So I'd been consulting for about a year, and I was traveling a lot at the time, and I was just trying to figure it out because I had not only, the things I needed to do for travel and work and my kids and, other assignments. I think one of the big things at Microsoft at the time was, while I had my billable hours, there were also all of these other things, right? And so if you don't know much about consulting, like billable hours are king, but if you want to get a good rating and get good additional bonuses, you also need to do other things for the company. And so it turned into this whole thing of, well, how do I get all of this done? How do I meet the commitments to my wife and kids? How do I meet the commitments to work? And what I ended up figuring out after doing this journaling exercise was, I figured out that, quite frankly, on a Monday, I could easily work 16 hours. Like, it just wasn't a problem for me. I don't know why. It's ADHD hyperfocus. I don't know. But Monday, 16 hours wasn't a problem, which worked out pretty well because, quite frankly, I was getting up at 4 to 5 a.m. to get on a plane to fly somewhere, and then deal with all of the travel stuff, and then meet a client for the first time, possibly spend my afternoon with them, get then go figure out where to eat where to eat in a hotel and get that all situated, and then call home and talk to my kids, and then deal with all the corporate email and the stuff my boss wanted me to do that had nothing to do with you know billing hours, right? So anyway, long and the short of that was, I figured out Monday I could do 16 hours. Tuesday I could do 14, and that was great. And then I figured out Wednesday I could do 12, but there was a caveat. If I pushed myself to 12 hours on a Wednesday, then on Thursday I was toast. I might get 6 hours of functional work done, but that was it. And then Friday was 4. Like, and so I had to learn from an energy management perspective that while technically I could push myself through and I could get more done, that realistically, if I wanted to be effective, what I needed to do on Wednesday was take time off, like not do anything actually productive, useful in the evening, Wednesday evening, and just kind of chill out somehow, like watch a movie, play a video game, do something. If I was home, hang out with my kids, whatever, but not do anything productive on a Wednesday. And then suddenly I could get a decent work day in on Thursday and Friday. And so some of what I'm talking about here is this energy management of, well, Alan, that sounds ridiculous, working 16 hours a day or whatever. I get it. It's ridiculous. It's some of this is about me and my personality more than anything else. But if you're somebody who aims to get a lot done, if you have a big scope that you want to do, the first thing you got to realize is what are your biorhythms like? What is your rhythm of business in your mind, in your body throughout your week? Because if you don't understand that, if you don't understand that you actually have kind of circadian rhythm, a rhythm that you work with, and you're just blindly putting stuff on a schedule, you're going to fail. Like, it's just going to fundamentally fail if you don't understand your own self. So the first trick is to any kind of, getting more things done, being more effective, is understanding yourself and how you operate. Because if you don't understand how your body actually functions, if you don't understand how you work with other people, and can be functional. And when I talk about the 16 hours, you got to understand it's about alertness, right? Like, it's the ability to alertly do things that you're fully aware of what's going on. I'm not saying that, in consulting, given the billable hours requirements and everything else, I'm not saying that there weren't Wednesdays that I didn't have to like put in 16 hours because that's just what work required. I'm saying that if I was doing that, probably 8 to 10, I was checked out. Like, that's all I got, and the rest of it was not top work. And so I think that's the other side of this is, being able to work inside your own framework and know that like when you hear a lot of the high end billionaires talk, I've heard various people say, well, I don't schedule anything before 10 a.m. and that's the me time that I focus on everything I need to do to keep my brain straight. That trick or whatever that you might hear, billionaires do this, is really just a matter of them managing their own energy, right? So the question has to be for you is, if part of your job is focus work, like you're writing documents is a big part of your job, or preparing for presentations, or prep, like maybe you're writing a book, whatever it is that you're doing that requires deep focus work, are you putting that at the right time of the day, at the right time of week, when you're actually got the most energy to do it? Because if you're not, if you're kind of holding that back, like you're letting other people dictate your calendar and your schedule in a way that you don't actually make time when you have the best energy to do the best work, then that's going to be a failure, right? And so one of the things I did when I started the day job I have is I actually said, hey, I'm going to work mountain time. And so by doing that, I've shifted my schedule a little bit, and it lets me have some time early in the morning to do my own thing, to focus on the things I need to do when I'm like really alert. And so that's really kind of the thing is, looking at your energy and how your energy works. And maybe you're the kind of person that you don't have a spike, a couple days a week you get a lot done. Maybe every day you're super steady. Well, if you're super steady, then you need to organize your work around, you know what, I can't work really extra. I only get about 6 good hours of super solid work done a day. But, actually I can squeeze in some other stuff on Saturday or whatever it is. Like, you've got to actually know yourself. So if you want to get more done, the very first thing is to actually spend some time journaling and understanding, hey, when I woke up today, how fried was I? Because that was one of the things I had to figure out. Was I realized that if I'm doing it wrong, when I wake up on Thursday, I'm so fried I can't actually do anything useful, like for the first couple hours. Because normally the mornings is the best time for me. Like, normally I wake up and I get things done, and what I learned was, oh, I've been overdoing it on Wednesday, and that's how I learned to adjust that. And so the big thing is, if you really want to get more done, if you want to be more effective, take some time to journal and understand your actual biorhythms, like what works for your body week to week, month to month. Because the other thing is, it could be you've got a circadian rhythm of some other thing. Maybe maybe the lunar cycle hooks you, or maybe there's some other seasonal thing going on. But understanding how your energy level actually impacts your effectiveness goes a long way to actually getting things done. And then the other thing that's really important in that is, are you sort of double dipping? Are you able to find places where um, basically taking objective A that matters to you and or your superiors, and actually aligning it to objectives B, C, and D, so that the exact same hour is retiring multiple things at the same time? And I think that's probably the other side of what I do, or what I've done to be effective, is just being able to get double duty out of things, right? That being able to stack up priorities, stack up things, so that essentially, if I'm doing item one, I'm also doing item two, three, and four at the same time, really goes a long way to taking your energy and getting the most out of that energy, right? If you're not able to double dip, if you're not able to say, hey, I'm doing this thing for this reason, that also I want to do this other thing, and if you can't find where they overlap, that a lot of times can be really energy draining, because now your focus is split. On the other hand, if you can bring those together and show how this thing that I want to do, that's going to be a high achievement thing for me, that I really care about, also aligns to these other objectives I have, really goes a long way. And so, one of the big things at Microsoft I learned was that, if I could prep my deliverables in a certain way where they were easy to then anonymize, so I could share those deliverables with the community, I would get double duty points, because the customer got what they wanted, right? They got this nice deliverable that explained what they wanted to do. But then my, community leadership and the people that sort of I got props for um, contributing, work to them, also got stuff. And so it's that kind of thing of understanding that for the energy I have, I need to check the most boxes simultaneously. It's really important to be able to do that. So anyway, that's what I have for today. Just a quick note on, it's not about time management, it's about energy management, and figuring that out for yourself is key to being able to do more and, be more successful. Catch y'all next time.